What is going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, here to bring you my quick pick video for UFC Vegas 85. But before we get into this week's quick pick video, make sure you go to WeWantPicks.com. Become a premium member today. We killed $297. Are you coming in limping, a little hurt? You got a little, the wallet's a little empty after $297. Guess what? Not us. Me, Angelo, up units, doing well in 2024. It's only $10 a month. If you can't do the $10 a month, like the video, subscribe if you are new, stay for the fun, the Tuesday breakdowns with me and Angelo on Tuesdays. I just said Tuesday, but they are on Tuesdays. Lock of the week video. We got a live stream coming up on Saturday. Without further ado, let's get into this week's quick pick video for UFC Vegas 85. First up, we got Thomas versus Jamal, and you guys know how I feel about these heavyweight fights, man. You guys know how I feel about these heavyweight fights. Thank God it's not on the main card. A lot of times they ruin these Apex cards by throwing these random ass heavyweights on the main card. Listen, this fight should be pretty easy to me in my mind. Thomas is the better wrestler. He should be able to get some takedowns, win a boring decision against Jamal. But if Jamal wins because of a random heavyweight fight, it is what it is. I can't stand heavyweight fights. I can't stand betting heavyweight fights. I don't like watching them. Thank God it's the first fight of the night. We can get it done, get it over with, moving on with our lives. I'll go with Thomas here. I think he can get the takedowns. But if he doesn't, it's going to be a close fight. Who gives a fuck? Let's move on to the next one. Marquel versus Landon. And now we're finally getting to the meat of the card. I'm talking about the T-bone steak because this fight should be good. This fight could be the fight of the night. Landon came in against Nasrat, tore his legs apart. Had some moments there, but you saw him getting hit as well. Getting touched. Tough dude. I have no doubt in my mind that Landon is a tough guy in this matchup and could have some success. That toughness could lead him to some success in the second and the third rounds. I have no question that Marquel is probably a little bit more of the well-rounded fighter, a little bit more of the dynamic striker. Landon's nice and tight with his shots. Marquel's a little bit more wild. I have no doubt in my mind Marquel's going to come in. He's going to be pushing the pace forward. He's not like a crazy pace and pressure guy, but he likes controlling the space. He's going to have Landon against the fence, and that's when he's going to start throwing the wild stuff, the kicks, the leg kicks, the heavy stuff. He does have wrestling if he goes to, but if Marquel starts wrestling, in my mind, that means he's in a little bit of a trouble. If he tries to get Landon out early, if he's forcing the knockout, really trying to overswing, Landon can eat those shots and then really start to take over in the second and the third rounds. I don't know if I trust Marquel's gas tank too much. But in this fight, I think he's going to have the forward pressure. I believe that he is going to be standing in front of Landon. And I actually think that he can land the powerful shots. And even if he doesn't, and Landon starts bringing the pressure, Marquel has shown that even if he's getting a little bit tired, he can kind of dog out some takedowns and grind out that type of victory as well. So I like Marquel because he's a little bit more of the dangerous fighter. I think Landon, even though that he has these nice tight shots, didn't put a lot behind him. So Marquel, even though he's kind of hands low at sometimes, very confident guy. There's no doubt about that. I don't think the big shot from Landon is going to affect him. Marquel should be able to control the striking and maybe even mix in a grappling takedown or two if he needs it. I don't want him to force anything. The knockout will be there if you don't force it. I got Marquel in this fight. Let's move on to the next one. Julija versus Luana. And this one should be this one is a very interesting fight because Julija is a girl that's like, you see toughness out of her, you see the takedowns, but then you see her folding, you see her breaking under pressure. Is this going to be a first round or bust type of situation for Julija? I believe that Julija is going to have some success in the first round. I believe she is very live for a finish in the first round. If she does not get that finish, can she get another takedown in the second round? Can she get some control? Because Luana is a girl that will kind of mess around with the scrambles. And if you start scrambling around with Julia, not Juliana. If you start messing around with Tabitha Ricci's best friend, Julia Stoliarenko, on the ground, you're going to start losing some scrambles and you're going to lose an arm. The issue is Julia gets a little bit too aggressive sometimes. And when she gets a little bit too aggressive and then things start turning the other way, that's when she starts to fold. The question now, a lot of questions. The question now is if Luana can survive the first round, can she stay out of those situations in the second, in the third rounds? I actually think that Julia is a little bit more underrated than people give her credit for. She's a tough girl. She was fighting a little bit higher in weight. Now she's probably at a better weight class. She's getting bullied a little bit with those bigger girls. I think Julia's going to come in, maybe get a finish in the first round. I think she's going to get the takedown. She's a strong girl. Get a takedown, get the control. If it leaves the first round, I believe that she still can get a takedown in the second round, win that round, and then Luana in the third round could win that round, but she's not like a super dangerous girl, and Julia, she's tough. I fully believe that she is tough, and I believe in her toughness, so I am going Julia here. But I think if you're going to bet it, it's better just to kind of get the value in chasing a little bit earlier in Julia. But Julia's going to be my pick for this. We'll see how it plays out. Let's move on to the next one. Blake Bilder versus Jeong Lee. And listen, Blake Bilder there's no doubt about Blake Bilder being an athlete, right? He's a confident guy. If you watch the Instagrams, he's always just deep diving head first into just a swimming pool full of bacteria and sweat. It's the nastiest shit I've ever seen. If you haven't seen his Instagram, that dude is drowning in sweat every single rolling session, every single sparring session. Absolutely disgusting. He's a tough dude. He's an athletic dude. In this fight, I worry about him. I worry about him for a couple of reasons. One, his takedowns aren't great. And he came in against Yeong and said, oh, if I feel sorry for Yeong if this fight goes to the ground because I'm going to absolutely destroy him. He doesn't even, got one takedown, Shane got back up, didn't get another takedown. Lee, in his last fight, I know he was getting taken down, but that's a little bit of a better wrestler, and he showed that he can scramble and he can kind of work through those positions. It's a close fight, but he was landing some big shots. The reason I worry about Blake Bilder in this fight is the takedowns. I don't think the takedowns are going to be effective, and in the striking, I don't think Blake Bilder is that good of a striker. I think Lee is a sniper type of striker, very, very nice, precise in the pocket shots. And if you watch Blake Bilder, when he was getting eaten up by a jab, boom, boom against Kyle Nelson. And every time he tried to respond with a hook. And if you're coming up with hooks against somebody that throws power straight down the middle, you're going to get eaten alive. So I actually like this fight a lot for Lee. I know a lot of people are going to be on the Blake Bilder side. He's kind of a popular dog, but Lee is a good striker. BJJ black belt as well. So even if Bilder does find a way to get this fight to the ground, I think Lee can do more than survive. And I think I like Lee's toughness. Blake Bilder against Kyle Nelson, you know, he was losing that fight and he was kind of just fucking around in that third round, right? You could see he was a little bit frustrated, but instead of biting down and really going after it, which he did a little bit, I think I like Lee in this. Lee's going to touch him early, and Lee has shown that when he touches people, he can definitely hurt people. So I'm actually kind of pretty high on Lee. I don't think the takedowns are there for Blake, and I believe that Lee is the better striker. So mostly striking matchup, I got to go with the better striker. That is Lee. He's got the power and the technique in my mind. I'm going Lee. Let's move on to the next one. Gorimbo versus, I'm feeling hella magical, fool. We got Pete Rodriguez, former lock of the week. The fight never happened, but I mean, he's former lock of the week. I love Pete Rodriguez. I love his boxing. I love his tenacity. Obviously, he had issues with a couple of fights in the Tom Levy where he was missing weight. They tried to rebook it. It happened again. We'll see how he comes into this fight. Listen, Themba, you know, minus 250. Was he minus 275, whatever it is. Listen, I get the aura behind Themba. Themba, former lock of the week as well. Came in, was a lock of the week winner. So I know both these guys very, very well. Themba is a tough, tenacious dude. He's going to go for it. He's going to want to get those takedowns. He's going to want to get on your back. And if he gets on your back, it's going to be a problem. He is a very good grappler. When he gets on your back, he gets that body triangle in, and he can hold you there. You're probably not going to go. The issue is in the striking, little lackluster. In his takedowns, little lackluster. Even in the jiu-jitsu scrambles, he is a little lackluster. He loses position time and time again. You mix that. Mitch, I was going to say match, but then I said mix, so it's mix that. If you mix that with his cardio, which also seems to fail him, right? He's not a quitter. He's not going to give up if he gets tired, but you can tell he starts to slow down. He starts to lose position. He starts getting tired in fights. If you start mixing all that together, he's probably not the better striker. He's a little bit sloppy in the grappling. Pete Rodriguez is kind of a first round or bust type of guy. This fight's very interesting. I don't know why anybody is touching Themba at minus 250. I understand Pete Rodriguez, all this stuff, but Themba is a hard dude to trust. He's not really a finisher if it goes to the ground. I'm going Pete. I'm going dead game here. I'm going dead game. Pete Rodriguez. I just think that Themba just makes too many mistakes, not only in the striking, but also in the grappling. And Pete Rodriguez, I know he's kind of like this boxing dude, but he is very well versed on the ground as well. I think he can hold his own there, maybe even find some of his own success on the ground. If he gets on top of Themba, Themba just makes way too many mistakes, especially for a minus 250 price tag, whatever it is. Give me dead game Pete Rodriguez in this matchup for the upset. Let's move on to the next one. Charles Johnson versus Azat. And Azat came in, highly touted prospect, 17-0, got the split decision win, couldn't get the takedowns against Tyson Nam, right? And this fight, I know a lot of people think that Azat, or it feels like people believe Azat is takedown or bust, right? And they're looking at this matchup, and they're like, yeah, Charles Johnson can get taken down, but he makes wrestlers work. And I agree. I like Charles Johnson. He's a very well-rounded guy, and he does make wrestlers work. You might get him to his knees. You might get him grab him. He's gonna be popped right back up. And then you might get him, he's gonna pop right back up. The issue with Charles Johnson is a couple things. In the striking, so low volume, right? It's hard for him to win striking matchups, even if there's no takedowns, because he can be so low volume. He's a hard guy to trust in the striking. And then, as I mentioned, in the wrestling, he can get controlled. Even if he's defending, even if he's getting back to his knees, he's back to his feet against the fence, he will get held there, and he will stay in those positions. And even if Azat can't get the takedowns, which I believe in this fight, he's going to be able to get a takedown or two. Azat's a good striker. He is a good striker. Not only is he a good striker, but he has shown that he can bounce back from kind of getting chinned a little bit as well if you watch some of the regional tape. And Charles Johnson just, it's a little bit short notice coming in. He's not really a dangerous guy on the feet. He's not really a dangerous guy in the offensive wrestling, the offensive grappling or sweeps or anything like that. Charles Johnson is basically very good at not getting finished, right? And Azat is a guy that, yeah, he's got finishes, but he showed against Tyson Nam, he can work through those type of fights where, okay, I can't get the takedowns, but I can do enough in the striking. And I believe that he's going to be active enough in the striking against Charles Johnson that even if he doesn't get a takedown, he can still win that type of fight. But I believe in this one, he's going to mix in a takedown. I think he's going to have a little bit more success than people give him credit for in this fight with the grappling and the wrestling. So I'm going Azat here, and I feel pretty good about it. I like Charles Johnson, very well-rounded. It just seems at this level, he just doesn't have quite enough offensive firepower to kind of win fights. So I'm going Azat here. Let's move on to the next one. Molly McCann versus Belbita. Belbita dating an Indiana boy, and I am also an Indiana man. So if Deanna's looking to upgrade a little bit, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here. WeWantPicks.com. Become a premium. This is a rematch. No doubt about that. And you're going to hear a lot of people talking about how Molly, oh my gosh, she dominated the first match. Have you seen the scorecards? Molly got a 10-7 round. Look at the scorecards. Molly, 10-7 round against Deanna. How can Deanna come back 4 years later after getting 10-7 in a round and beat Molly? Well, you got to ask yourself, why isn't Molly a minus fucking 1,000 favorite? I'll tell you why. Because in that matchup, in a 23-year-old debut of Deanna Belbita up at 125, right? She fight 115 now. If you watch that tape, that's a different Deanna. I mean, physically, that's a different Deanna. She looked a little loose in the caboose in that previous fight. So the 23-year-old Deanna came in. I thought she was winning that first round. I thought she won that first round. Pressuring Molly, striking against Molly, looking nice and tight with those shots. She's the more technical striker in this matchup. I don't think there's any question about that. Molly dipping the head, throwing wild right hands like she was doing. She was getting worn down a little bit. Molly won the last 30 seconds of the first round and somehow got the round scored for her. She got a takedown, a little bit of control. That's all it was in the first round. I thought Deanna won the first round. Let's move to the second round. This is the 10-7 round. Number one, there was a point deduction. Okay, so there was a point deduction. Well, Jacob, that still means it's a 10-8 round. You're right. They did score as a 10-8 round. Do you know why? I don't know why, because they're fucking idiots. Deanna was controlling that entire round until like, what, 2:30 to go? Molly got a weird scramble, got full mount, was in full mount for 45 seconds, kind of raining shots. But guess what? Deanna's a tough girl, scrambled out of position, and I thought that she won the last minute of the round. So how can that be a 10-8 round? Molly was in full mount, but she lost 3 minutes of the rest of the round. Deanna even threw her ass down, was beating her up to end the round. So I say all this to say I would be careful by just looking at Molly won the first one. There's a 10-7 round, so there's no way Diana can come back and win this fight because of two things. First of all, I think Diana's gotten better. You're going to see a lot of people being like, I don't know, Diana hasn't improved. I think Diana's got a lot better in her striking. A lot more precise, sitting down on stuff a little bit more. And the biggest thing here, this is Diana's weight class now. This is at 115. Molly coming down to 115. She said this is one of the hardest things she's done. When you focus so much on just making the weight and making the cut, what do we see with Kelvin Gastelum, right? Refocus. I'm coming down. I did it. I'm making it. I'm on the scale. I did it. Well, guess what? You did it on Friday, but you didn't do it on Saturday. I think the same thing's going to happen here. Molly's going to come in on the weight. Boom. She's looking good. She's going to be shredded. Everyone's going to be so excited. She's going to come in, and it's going to be a close fight, and Diana is going to be the more active fighter on the feet in a close fight, and if Molly can't get the takedowns, which I don't believe that Molly's going to get the takedowns, I think she loses this fight. So long story short, I'm going Diana, Belbita, with the upset against 115 Molly. I think Molly's going to gas and won't have the volume to win rounds late in the fight. Give me Diana by points. Let's move on to the next one. Gilbert Urbina versus Charles Radtke. And these odds, whew, a little bit wild on this one. There's a couple fights on this card where I thought that one person was going to be the dog, and they end up being kind of a big favorite. Marquel was one. Marquel, I thought he was going to be in the opener. I guess not the opener, but I thought he was going to be the dog because I break down these fights. I don't look at the odds, and I try and make in my mind, okay, who do I think is the favorite? How would I put them? And I actually thought that Charles Radtke was going to be the favorite in this fight because he does have power. Listen, Urbina is probably the better fighter, right? He's probably the overall better fighter. On the ground, I think he definitely can dominate on the ground, especially if he gets in a top position, gets on the back. That's where he really wants to shine. He's shown improvements in the striking as well. Radtke is a kind of a powerhouse guy. He will sit in the pocket and he will throw some shit. And if he throws some shit and lands on Urbina, it's going to be very, very bad news. Radtke is a sloppy dude. He gets hit himself, right? He gets hit. He gets dropped. If he goes to the ground, even if he's shooting offensive takedowns, he can get swept. He can get reversed. If Radtke is trying to wrestle and grapple the way he was against Blood Diamond, I think he'd lose this fight. I think Urbina is going to be fine in a fight like that. If you're Radtke, you got to come in, pressure him, and just land and just hope to land some shit because you are the more powerful guy in this matchup. Urbina will kind of be hands low against the fence and try to counter you before the shots come. So I say all this to say this. Urbina is probably the better fighter. So I have to pick the better fighter here, but Urbina minus 200 against somebody that does have the power and kind of does have the don't give a fuck attitude, like Radtke, to come in and just try to knock this dude out seems a little bit stiff. I believe that this fight is going to look like, oh, Urbina fucking smoked him. 200 was value, or Radtke might upset him. This is a close fight. I would stay away from the value on Urbina at minus 200, whatever it is right now. At the time I'm filming, I think it's like 195 or something like that. My pick is going to be Gilbert because I believe he is the more methodical and better overall fighter, and I hope that the fight goes to the ground. But this is not a bet situation for me at all. Urbina's the pick, but let's move on to the next one. We have Khizriev versus Muradov, and this one is very interesting because Khizriev is a guy that everyone's going to see this week, and they're probably going to load up on him. And I think the odds have already flipped a little bit. I can't remember what they opened up as, but I think Khizriev got a little bit wide. They're starting to tighten a little bit, but they're going to see 14-0. They're going to see the Russian flag by his name. They're going to see the last fight. He got a finish. I believe, and I could be completely wrong about this, but I believe that I see when I watch this guy fight, which he doesn't fight very often. What I mean, he's 2000, like he fought like 2015, and then 2016, and then a couple times in 2017, and then like a 2019, and then in 2020, and then in 2022. The guy's not very active. Why isn't he active? Because I believe when I watch this guy fight, I see a lot of Alexander Romanov when I watch this guy fight. When things are going good, when things are going easy, which they have been for him. He's 14-0. He's kind of smoking everybody. And when things are going well and things are going easy, you're looking like an undefeated champion. Boom, easy peasy. When you are all hammer and no nail, it's very easy to keep fighting that way. But once you become a nail, as we saw with Romanov, I believe that there is going to be a switch made in Khizriev's mind, because this is not an undefeated Russian that's grinding out victories. Because if you're beating Muradov, you are grinding him out. You are wearing him out. You saw, Gerald Mearshart kind of like Homer Simpson his way to a win, but he did grind out that victory. Muradov got tired, ended up quitting. I believe Muradov is a different dude since that fight. You saw that even in the Kyle fight. You saw a different Muradov in that fight. And then that last fight, he looked absolutely fantastic. Did everything he needed to do. Was looking good for 3 rounds. So if you are fighting Muradov, you need to just kind of weather the early storm. He's got power, and wear him out and grind out late victories. Khizriev isn't that type of guy. He is a finish guy. First round finishes, second round finish. I think he only has 1 third-round fight. He's not a guy that's going to grind out Muradov, who's going to be working his ass off for 3 rounds. You even saw Khizriev last fight versus Dennis. Entering the second round, he was like, oh, this guy looks a little bit tired, huh? He's finally fighting a guy that's UFC competition, and Dennis is landing some nice right hands. Dennis is scrambling out of positions. All of a sudden, this guy Khizriev was like, oh shit. And I didn't see when I saw that shit and I saw that look on his face, if he didn't get that takedown that ended up winning that fight for him, I think that Dennis might have ended up winning that fight. I just saw something in his face. And I could be reading too far into this, but to me, I saw Alexander Romanov when I look at this guy. Fights inactive. He's not really in the grind. He just kind of shows up, and if it's easy, it'll be easy. If it's not, you know what? We'll just go home. We'll try another one. I think Muradov is a different dude. I think he's built for this. I believe that he's going to come in aggressive and break this dude down. The biggest thing here is if you watch Khizriev, he has good takedowns. There's no doubt about that. But he will strike. And when he strikes, he fucking eats right hands like there's nobody's business. I mean, he is eating right hands like Angelo eats fucking cold cuts. It is one after the other. And if you watch Muradov, his best shot is that nice, straight, fucking powerful right hand. Give me Muradov in this matchup. He's the better striker. He can scramble out of the positions. And if this comes down to heart versus heart, gas tank versus gas tank, I believe that Khizriev is going to break before Muradov in the second round. Give me Muradov, second round finish. Let's move on to the next one. Vivi versus Natalia Silva. And I like both these females. You guys know me with my Brazilians. I like both these females. Vivi was my girl for a long time. Natalia Silva obviously is it's like everyone's girl at this point. But I was the first person. If you watch our breakdown, Natalia Silva's UFC debut, she came in and everyone was like, who is this girl? And even if you listen, and I say this every time, if you listen to the broadcast, Dominic Cruz, because she came in and looked fantastic. What was it against Jasmine? Came in, her striking looked absolutely fantastic. And Dominic Cruz on the broadcast said there was no way to know that her striking was this improved. Guess what, motherfuckers? If you listen to my breakdown of that fight, I said I watched, and I've been on Natalia Silva's Instagram, and she looks fucking incredible hitting the pad. So I knew before everyone else knew that Natalia Silva was the real deal. And in this fight, it is the footwork, it is the bouncing around, it is the dynamic kicking and striking that keeps her away from wrestling that is going to win her this fight. Vivi's tough. Vivi is going to march forward. But I believe that Natalia Silva, her footwork, her taekwondo, the striking, even if you get a hold of her, she's shown that she can, defend takedowns or scramble out of positions. Natalia Silva should be able to win this fight. If Vivi's able to get a takedown or two, maybe control her. I try to make a case for Vivi, and I know a lot of people want to start to fade Natalia at some point. But honestly, of all these girls that everybody loves in this division, 125, Natalia is probably one of the best ones, honestly. She is probably that dark horse next champion that's going to come out of nowhere, win the belt, and defend it 3 or 4 times. It's hard to believe. She was 1-3 in her career at one point. She's 16-5 now, so you kind of see that record, and you're like, how did she lose 5 times? She started her career 1-3. And here she is, and she's going to be fighting for a title very, very soon. Give me Natalia Silva with her footwork to win this fight. Let's move on to the next one. Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. And listen, this is another one of those situations. There's a few people on this card that are like, they're very hard to trust, right? Themba Gorimbo is one of those. It's like he just gets a little bit too loose in there. It's hard to really trust that guy, especially at a -250 price tag. The other guy on this card that's very hard to trust in my mind, is Randy fucking Brown. He should win this fight. He's a long guy, rangy striker. Muslim's almost 40 years old. I don't think he's slowing down as much as people think. Against Dolby, you saw him landing some really nice shots. He's still very clean in the boxing. If you're Randy Brown, you can't fuck around with this guy, right? If you're Randy Brown and you come in like you did against JDM, right? And you're styling on him, you're popping that jab out, and you got your hands low, and you're against the fence, and you're trying to just duck with head movement. This guy will put you out, Randy Brown. I'm telling you that right now. And if you guys are loading up Randy Brown and parlays and this and that, no, I would be very careful, because Randy Brown is a hard dude to trust, because he gets in there. He has a lot of fun. I'm not going to knock the guy for having fun. He's confident in his abilities, but he gets in there. He starts having some success. He hits that jab out there. He starts taunting. He's got the hands low, and it only takes one shot, as we saw. And when you're at 170, when you're up at these higher divisions, take one shot to change everything. This is how I think the fight's going to play out. Randy Brown's going to have success. First 2 minutes, first 3 minutes, first 4 minutes, and then he's going to start getting a little bit overconfident. Muslim's going to hit him with a shot that stings him a little bit, and then the round's going to end. And everyone's going to be sitting here with Randy Brown and all these parlays, and they're going to be like, who won? Randy still won that round, right? Like, he still won that round? He still won. And then Randy's going to be scared of the power, and he's going to dance around the next 2 rounds and touch and touch and touch. He's going to have some success doing that, because that's how he should fight this fight the entire time. But then the fight's going to be over, and people are going to start doing the math on the fingers. Okay, Randy won the first one, right? And I think he outstruck him in the second one, right? And so I think Randy won this fight. If you're playing that game for a minus 300 favorite, no, thank you. Randy is going to be my pick. He should win this fight, but I can't trust a guy like Randy Brown. No way, no how, especially against a guy with power like Muslim Salikov. So give me Randy Brown. I'm fucking staying away from this one. Let's move on to the next one. Nato Moicano versus everyone's favorite dog, Drew Dober. And nobody understands the pulse of the underdogs of the week more than me, because I get messages all the time, right? You got to put this has got to be your lock of the week, right? This is your lock of the week, right? This is your lock of the week. And every message I bet 90% of the messages I've gotten the past 2 weeks have been Drew Dober. Drew Dober, lock of the week. He's going to smoke Moicano. He's going to smoke Moicano. The other one is Dolidze. We'll get to Dolidze. I am going to say right now, and this might be a little bit of a polarizing thought, and let me know in the comments below if it is. I don't think Drew Dober's that good. I just don't think Drew Dober is that good. I picked against him as my lock of the week, right, with Matt Frivola. And everyone came in that week and said, how could you pick Matt Frivola? Oh my God, could you pick Matt Frivola? Drew Dober, the Crimson Chin, is going to smoke Matt Frivola. Why did I pick Matt Frivola? Because I believe that he showed he was the faster striker. Power doesn't matter if you can't beat people to the punch. And you saw Frivola get in there tight with nice tight shots and beat Drew Dober when Drew Dober was trying to get those knockout powers. Because Drew Dober has one thing. Now he's only got one thing. Before, it was a Crimson Chin that he would eat shots and return shots with his power. Now all he's got is power. Because you've seen it. He was getting chin. He was recovering. Now he got chin. He got put out. Moicano in this matchup, this might be something wild to say, but I'm saying it right now. I believe that Renato Moicano is the better striker in this matchup. So, if you're Drew Dober, and you know you're not the better grappler, right? You're not going to out-grapple Moicano. And now you're coming in, you're not even the better striker in my mind. I don't know how Drew Dober wins this fight. Yeah, he might find that power shot, right? He's always going to be live for a KO, and people are going to question the chin of Moicano. Has those 145 knockouts now at 155. Moicano came in against Brad Riddell, 155, looked fantastic. Looked super sharp. I mean, the tightness of his jab in his right hand and mix that into clinch positions and able to get, do stuff on the ground as well. In my mind, I think Moicano does whatever he wants to Drew Dober in this fight. I think he does whatever he wants. I think he dances around. I think he picks him apart, beats him down, and then if he wants to shoot a takedown, go into the wrestling to get to his high-level grappling, I believe that's what he's going to do. But I think there's a world here where Moicano knocks out Drew Dober. I really believe that. I think Moicano's the better striker. He's a precise striker, and he can really beat up Drew Dober. Jab, jab, right? Boom, 1-1, 1-2, boom. Just nice, tight shots. Don't get looping, because if you get looping, that's when Drew Dober might find his shot as well. But guys, I just don't think Drew Dober is that good. He's got 12 losses for a reason. I like Marquel in this matchup. I think he can beat up on the feet, and obviously he could finish him on the ground as well. Drew Dober is going to be live for the knockout. But let me know in the comments. I'm going with Renato Moicano in this fight. Let's move on to the main event. Event time. We got Roman Dolidze versus Nasruddin Imavov. And whew, I've heard it all week again. I said the last fight, a lot of people like Roman. And I like Roman. I like Roman as a fighter. I like Roman as a person. He seems like a great guy. Roman comes in. He is a jiu-jitsu nerd at his core. He is a grappling nerd. But if you watched him fight, you would think that he had no idea how to fucking scrapple. Unless it gets there. Once it gets to the ground, you could tell he knows what he's doing. But when he just stands, he looks like just one of those old school slobber knocker type of guys. He smiles at you. He cocks back that fucking right hand and he throws it, and he wants to get into brawls, and that's what he's got to turn this fight into. Because if he doesn't turn this fight into a nasty brawling style where he can land power, he's going to lose this fight. Imavov is too good, too tactical. He can bounce around, use that, you know, that kickboxing karate style, stick and move, boom, 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 and beat up Roman Dolidze 4 or 5 rounds, in my opinion. Roman Dolidze has to be able to land a power shot. He has to make this nasty. Can he do it? He probably can do it, right? But I think that's more of an outside chance. I have to take the better striker in what should be mostly striking match, because Roman doesn't really have great takedowns, and he doesn't really fully commit to it either, right? And even if he does, Imavov has wrestling in his background as well. He knows how to defend and do all that type of stuff. So there's going to be two things that happen here. It's going to be either Imavov comes in and he fights for 5 rounds, and Dolidze is getting a little bit frustrated, but he's moving forward, and then it's kind of a boring Imavov decision, or Dolidze is able to push the pressure, push the pace, land a couple shots, get Imavov worn down against the fence, and then he can start mixing in some grappling, some takedowns and stuff like that. I believe it's going to be the first thing. I believe that Roman is going to be live, right? And I'm going to be rooting for Roman, and I like Roman. I think for the live stream here Saturday, we're probably going to put our action on Roman because he's more fun to root for. But Imavov in this spot, he knows the dangers of Roman. He knows how he has to fight this fight. He seems like a pretty high IQ guy. I believe Imavov is going to come in, point. It's going to be like an Izzy fight, right? I mean, just point and stick and move. And Roman, to his credit, as tough as he is and as powerful as he is, he just doesn't have the volume. He's got the forward pressure, but it's not like he's touching people with jabs and breaking them down and touching them with jabs. He kind of walks forward, boom, big right hand. Walks forward, boom, big right hand. I don't think it's going to be enough. So unfortunately, I do have to take Imavov here because he is the better striker in what should be the mostly striking matchup. But I'll be rooting for Dolidze. There's no doubt about that. This has been the quick pick video for UFC Vegas 85. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you are new. Comment below if you disagree or agree with any picks. Let's chop it up in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching. WeWantPicks.com. It's only $10 a month. We've been killing it. Come on, ride the train and ride it. Choo, choo. Come on, ride the train and ride it. Choo, choo.